Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Author's Den. I'm Cyrus Webb, joined by my co-host, Dr. Teresa A. Smith, aka Dr. Taz. I should say, award-winning author, Dr. Taz. She just came back from a great trip. We're going to ask her about that too before we wrap up our show. Glad you all could be with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X. We're going to welcome in our friends tuning in on Instagram as well. Then we're going to bring in our friends over on Amazon Live so we can be able to introduce today's guest. If you guys have any questions or comments as we're going throughout the show, we do have the chat open for you guys, so make sure you guys do put those in the chat. And we're now live on Amazon Live for this episode of the Author's Den. We're excited to welcome author TeKenya K Johnson to our broadcast today. We're going to talk to TeKenya not only about her writing journey, but also what it's been like for her to be able to share her own journey as well as to inspire other people along the way. Taz, first, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing great, Cyrus. How are you doing today?
Hey, doing really good. Congratulations to you again. And TeKenya, welcome to the Author's Den. Glad to have you on with us.
Thank you so much, Cyrus, for having me.
Look, the pleasure's definitely all mine. TeKenya, we're excited for our audience to be able to find out more information about you. I'm going to get us kicked off. I got to know you through the book 123, Norman's Forum and Me. But I noticed even when Todd told me you were scheduled for the show, you also been able to write about the importance of, of course, self-empowerment, but also self-love. I want to talk about, first of all, finding your own voice, TeKenya. I think for a lot of people out there, especially writers, they always seem to struggle with one, if they have something worth talking about, and then two, if people will be able to listen to them. What has it been like for you, TeKenya, to be able to discover your own writing voice and to share that with the rest of us?
Cyrus, I'll tell you, it has been a journey. Mm-hmm. It has really been a journey. Being in a family, I'm the only girl, 2 boys, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm the middle child. And you know what they say with the middle child? The middle child somehow gets lost. And so when we get lost, or when I got lost, let me tell you, I began to discover some things about me, right? Because they often say, well, the middle child, when they get lost, they really want a lot of attention, or they need a lot of attention. Well, I didn't need any of that, because like being around my brothers, they always made me feel really good about me, right? But when it came to my cousins, it was a different story. They would pick on me a lot because I was the little one in the bunch and everybody else was much older. And so I had to navigate through that. I had to try to find my way and try to find my voice in my family with my cousins. They would leave me out of stuff purposefully. But guess what? It made me a stronger individual by them leaving me out, Cyrus. I tell you.
Look, I'm the oldest among my siblings, TeKenya, but I know what it's like sometimes to feel like, you're being left behind. For me, I was left behind because I was the shortest of my siblings. But TeKenya, to talk about the writing side, though, I mean, it's one thing for us as writers, right, to put our books out there. It's another thing to hear about how something we have written has touched somebody else. Talk to us about that experience for you. What has it been like for you telling to have published books, but also to hear back from your readers about how something you wrote touched them?
Well, every time you write something or you put something out, you want to know if people will really receive you well. And sometimes people don't always understand you, right? And so having people to try and understand me meant I had to develop me. And so I had to get around some other people who knew how to do what I was trying to do. Yeah. And so I guess that's where alignment comes in, right? Yeah. I was in South Africa on a book tour. And someone asked me, where was I from? And I said, well, I'm currently residing in Mississippi. And they said, well, you should meet, or do you know Cyrus Webb? And I said, no, I don't know Cyrus Webb. They said, well, he's a radio broadcaster. He's an author. He helps authors to get, off their feet or whatever. Now, this is in 2020, I believe. And this was on the second leg of my trip in South Africa. Wow. And now it's 2024. I just met you last year, Cyrus.
Yeah.
Your name came across my social media page. And I said, Cyrus Webb. I said, that's the name that someone in South Africa was asking if I knew you. And I did not know anything about you. Yeah. But I want to say that from Fayetteville, North Carolina. What's the author? Dr.
Norma?
Norma.
Dr. Norma and
Vanessa?
Alyssa.
Yeah.
Yes. And so they were also on that tour as well.
Wow.
And we began to exchange, information. But Cyrus, just the alignment.
Yeah.
I was in South Africa in 2020 and 2024. Things had to get in alignment. I had to be in position, ready to receive, what you had to offer. And I said, wow, this is like 4 years later. Now this is somebody who can help me to get my book seen, to get many books seen, to get me seen, in the light that I needed to be seen in. It's just like the stars in the sky. They look different, at certain parts of the night, but they all shine brightly, And so getting people just to understand where I was coming from in each book that I write, people don't always have the same perspective. And so I just give people a different perspective of how to look at things.
Right. Well, TeKenya, I did not know that story, so thank you so much for sharing that. But I appreciate you sharing that, and you're right. A lot of things are about alignment for sure, and it's so good to be able to have connected with you. And we actually took your book with us to Los Angeles, 123 Norman's Farm and me, and it ended up with Jerome Rowe Brooks on the Have and the Have Nots. He shared it with his team there in Los Angeles. So you're right. You just never know, but it is about definitely that alignment is so important. So again, thank you for that. Taj, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Thank you, Cyrus. TeKenya, I find your story that you just shared fascinating. And, that was 2020. You met Cyrus in 2024. You said when his name came across your social media. And here we are in 2025, where the number 4 symbolizes stability, groundedness, and hard work. And 5 represents change, freedom, and adventure. And so looking at it from a numerological perspective, and you talked about the stars aligning, my question is, you were in South Africa. How has your faith helped you stay aligned with your purpose? Because you've got a lot of books out and you write in a lot of genres, because we see how things have lined up with you. So how has your faith, or either your mother wit, if you want to look at it from that perspective, kept you in alignment to get you to this place in time?
Well, my faith is everything to me. First, let me just say that, the Bible talks about how faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And so for me, sometimes my light was dimming at one point, right? So that means my faith was getting a little weak. But then I began to spend more time with myself, right? Getting to know who I really was, who, I was always created to be. See, I had this creativity about me, that was given to me, and so I walked that thing through. That's my faith walk. I walk that thing through every single day. Some people call it the supernatural. Mm-hmm. Well, it can be. It is a supernatural faith. Mm-hmm. That's that spark, that inner man that's in all of us. And sometimes, like I said, when I get weak, I just begin to spend more time with myself and with God, with the Creator, and He begins to walk with me, to walk my faith journey out. My purpose, for being here in the earth is to share my light, to show people that my faith, when I talk to the little small kids, I'm often showing them how a seed, this little tiny seed, produces so much, when it is planted in the right soil and it's nurtured right and it's watered and it gets enough sunlight. So my faith has began to grow stronger, grow taller. Cyrus said he's a short guy, but guess what? I'm a short girl, but I do big things because I have a big God. And so my faith has taken me from South Africa to Paris, France, to Botswana. I've been a lot of places, Canada, with my books, sharing them about my faith walk.
Mm-hmm. I thank you for sharing that, because you started off saying that you're the middle child and you had to get to know yourself. And what I'm hearing is that's still taking place, and it's an evolution as we begin to truly know who we are. And it's not a one and done. We're continuing to do that. And you don't seem to have any issues being vulnerable. And then, as you just said, you've been to Botswana, you've been to Paris, Canada. So I'm gonna go to Botswana now. So in Botswana, you have, I think it's Rosebud's Glow. That book is being utilized in their communities.
Yes.
How did you go from, or what advice would you give to writers who know they have a piece of work that can impact communities, but it's not published yet, or maybe it's rough? How would you give them, what would you tell them about positioning themselves so that their work can have the impact or get the inroads into a particular community that they may be focused on?
Well, first of all, they have to put themselves out there. And I know that's not an easy thing to do, but you have to put yourself out there, right? You got to believe in your work more than you believe in anything else. It's your work. It's your work for a reason. It's your responsibility to get out there and to be seen. People are only watching me on the other side of the screen, right?
Yeah.
They're watching me. Yeah, they're watching me. And so I'm going to say this, God wants you to put on a show. You've got to put on a show, and you've got to show them the God that's in you, because the God that's in all of us, he's this big God. He's not afraid of anyone. He made the entire world, the entire universe. And so you got to put yourself out there. You've got to be seen. You've got to be bold. You've got to take steps to get you to the place that you've always dreamed of being.
And I thank you for saying that, TeKenya, because as someone I know says all the time, you've got to put the work in. And you're writing a book and it's sitting somewhere and you're not putting the work in, you're not going to get it into the hands that it needs to be in. But that's on the writer. It's not on the audience or the community. And you've said that so graciously, that you had to put yourself out there so that the God in you could then be seen. And then we see the results of it. There you are in all these different countries making inroads and impacting communities. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Cyrus, I'm going to toss it back to you.
Thank you for that, Taz. For those who are just tuning in, welcome. You're watching The Author's Den here on Amazon Live. You guys are new to us on the Amazon platform. See you guys coming in over there as well as on YouTube. Welcome. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button either here in this corner or down below. You also will see some of the books by our guest for today. We have author TeKenya K Johnson joining us today. We're talking with her about her own writing journey. We also want to welcome those tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and on Instagram. On Instagram, hello to you, Jesus Blackman 23. That you could join us. I hope his author is either Angel Ayers or is Angela Yours. I'm not sure which one, but thank you so much for being with us. Insight Magazine, hello to you over there on IG as well. Taz, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask TeKenya one more question, if that's fine with you. And I wanted to ask you based on something you said to Taz, TeKenya. I think this is such an important thing because there are people, we all have heard that everyone has a story, right? Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, we live in a world, TeKenya, that people are not always like you. They're not like Taz. They're not like me. They're not encouraging people. They are discouraging people. They're not telling you what you can do. They're telling you what you can't do. What has helped you to crowd out the noise, TeKenya? Because there will always be people who don't see the light that we bring, don't see the value we have to offer through our gifts. What has helped you to stay focused on your goals as you've been going forward?
I want to say, I talked with Dr. Taz, and I told her, one of the greatest, stories or the motivational speeches that I heard was when somebody told me that I could not do it. Mm-hmm. People will tell you that you cannot do it because they don't see what you see.
Yeah.
They weren't given the vision that you were given. You were given that vision, that purpose, that dream for a reason. It's for you to carry it out. You know, I had to get around people who wanted to see me thrive, who wanted to see my visions and my dreams come to pass. And so I had to get around people, you know, who were uplifting me, you know, who could encourage me, who could teach me, who could show me the ropes. And I had to be teachable. You know, I'm a student of life. You know, when I get around people, I'm learning from them. You know, I may be teaching them in one stage, but in every stage of life, you're learning. I'm a student of life. You've got to get around people who will help to uplift you and motivate you and encourage you to get your dreams out there, to get, you know, your work out there. Your work is important. There are so many people that are waiting on you to make your next step so that they can make a next step behind you. We're trailblazers. You know, authors are trailblazers. We're blazing the trail for someone else to come behind us. We're also leaders, you know, and being a leader, you lead the pack for a reason, you know, so that everybody else behind you can also one day become leaders, influencers.
Yes.
Such a great point, and I'm so thank you for saying that, TeKenya. So that leads me to the question I was supposed to be asking you, but I want to ask you that question based on what you had said to Taz. So, what advice then do you give for others? Because again, you are that encourager now for other people. Taz and I get a chance to be that for other people. What advice would you give to them about the importance of, for one, not being afraid of letting their voice be heard, TeKenya, but also taking the steps necessary, doing the work, as Taz mentioned, to make it happen?
God did not give us the spirit of fear, but of a sound mind, right? So you have to have a sound mind. You know, the Bible also tells us to be sober in all things. That means your mind has to be clear. You have to get to a point where you can be clear. Get the chaos out of the way, right? And it takes some work to get chaos, you know, out of the way. And so I would just encourage you to not be fearful. Even if you are fearful, I'll say do it afraid.
Yeah, love that. Thank you so much for that, TeKenya. Taz, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, TeKenya, just to kind of piggyback on that, so there may be individuals who they're removing the chaos, and they still may be a little afraid, and they're aspiring writers, or they may be writers who are ready to go to the next place. Also, there may be audience, people who want to talk with you about your books. How can folks stay in contact with you?
Okay, I am on all social media platforms as authoress TeKenya K. Johnson. I'm also known as the Certified Master Life Coach, Transformational Coach. And you can find me at www.TeKenyaKJohnson.com.
Thank you, TeKenya. Cyrus, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you. I want to give some special shout outs to bestseller author Iris Bowling, who's joining us over there on IG, and also author G. Wilkins. Hello to you. Thank you so much for joining. If you guys did come in late and missed part of the conversation of this episode of the Author's Den, don't worry, you guys can catch the replay here on Amazon, but also on the social media platform that you're watching. TeKenya, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. Really appreciate you. Congratulations on all of your success. Looking forward to some great things from you. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask you, we're wrapping up the first quarter of 2025. Anything special that's coming up we can maybe hear about today?
I do have something that is coming out this year. And Cyrus, I will be talking to you off air about it.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Okay. All right. Well, I guess she told me. She ain't telling them, right? Thank you for that's that Southern way of saying it. I ain't telling you right now. Thank you for that, TeKenya. Thank you for a great show, Taz. And Taz, we can't let you go. Congratulations on Order to You. Why don't you tell us where you just came back from and what happened in DC?
Oh, well, Cyrus, I just got back a couple hours ago from Washington, D.C. I went for the Author's Den. I was nominated for an award. Dr. Dolores Henderson is the organizer of the Author's Ball, and this was the second year. And so I received this award, and it is the Best Purpose-Driven Literature Award from the Author's Ball and Awards. And I will tell you, when I got the award and I read it, I was like, there is a God. Best Purpose-Driven Literature. And you know, Cyrus, and everybody that follows me, whether I'm doing Taz and Anjay or Talk of Taz, It's always about the purpose. And like you, TeKenya, I'm just so grateful how God has interwoven everything. And as you just said so elegantly, we are all leaders and we have to act on what God has given us. So I am very appreciative to Dr. Dolores Henderson and the Authors Ball Awards for their thinking enough of me to give me this award. And she made a statement that I think is important for our audience today. She said, somebody is watching you. Somebody is listening at what you're doing, and your work is important. And that's what we try to do here each week that we're here with the Authors Den, is showcase the work of other authors, and so that they know that they matter because they're impacting lives across the globe. Thank you, Cyrus.
All right, thank you. Congratulations again to both of you. So glad to have you with us. Danny Efron, hello to you over there on IG. I really appreciate you joining us. And thanks all of you again for tuning in to this episode of the Authors Den. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.